a journalist. I developed the Go Green campaign, which became Transition Universities. Bloody hell, that's loud, isn't it? I used to do a lot of this kind of thing.
What were they saying?
British Geological Survey and the Environment Agency have just decided to do a baseline study on methane contamination in Wales before fracking happens. Because there's been a complete paucity of peer-reviewed studies on whether fracking actually causes methane contamination of wells.
Right.
Basically, the situation in Pennsylvania is a lot of people live in basically the boondocks where they get drinking water from digging a hole, which is not quite what it's like in most of Britain. And a lot of these holes are naturally contaminated with methane. And in some cases, if you throw a match down them, they will explode. And that's actually the cause. You've probably seen Gasland, you know, with the flaming tap. That's not actually anything to do with shale gas. It's biogenic gas. That's from bacteria that's quite at shallow depths, acting on rotting vegetation. Gets into the drinking water, and you get flaming tap water as a result. It's not to do with
But it never
shale gas.
happened before.
Yes, it did. Oh, yes, it did. Yeah, it's on record as being caused in the 70s. It's been a long time.
And it's a whole big library. Everything you possibly want to know about shale.
There's Kevin Anderson from the Tyndall Centre for Climate Change Research. He was its head for quite some time. Not keen on shale gas. Not so much because of the local pollution issues, but really because of the climate change angle. Because he basically says there's no room for it in emissions trajectories. A chap from Aquastrat, which is a water industry outfit, he was talking about water use in fracking, which isn't actually as bad as you might have thought. To tell you the truth. I mean, there are issues with flooding and stuff like that.
Just to let you know, the conference is finished.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you about it.
Oh, superb.
They've left already.
I'll leave you to it.
And so, like, what that guy apparently was just saying that there's evidence to show that the water was contaminated before the drilling. I mean, is that actually true?
Contaminated is a pejorative word to use, really. I mean, can something be naturally contaminated? You see what I mean? I mean, there's, you drill a hole for drinking water in Pennsylvania, as people do, and you're going to get methane in it, because basically you're kind of drilling into heat and all sorts of nasty stuff.
But people weren't getting sick before
the earthquakes were incredibly small, basically. If I jumped up here, right, and you set up a seismometer there, you'd pick up what's basically an earthquake, right? They were tiddly little things. I mean, it's a strange thing to think of earthquakes as a form of pollution.
But what about it's not pollution, it's danger.
It's not
and
dangerous.
It's still
destructive. Oh yeah, but get used to the yes, but that's on the but the San Andreas fault is fundamentally different, right? The Richter scale works on a logarithmic process, right? So scale 1, right, is scale 2, 10 times more powerful than 1. It goes like that, right? These were 1.5 and 3, right? 2 kilometers down. You can't feel that. It's impossible for it to cause any damage. And once some people saying, "Oh yes, we were woken up," and frankly, I can't believe that. I just cannot possibly
what about
believe it.
about ecosystems being ruined after, like in Pennsylvania, they said that after June that a lot of ecosystems lost.
Well, the trouble is in the States, there's all sorts. But the regulation of shale gas in the States is miserably crap.
Then why wouldn't it be the same?
The issue, because the regulatory environment is totally different. We've got way better safety management in the US. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm kind of championing the whole thing. I really don't. I just want to give some context to it.
If it's so okay, why have France banned it?
Because Sarkozy wants to get votes. It's that cynical, right? And he thinks he's getting more votes from banning shale gas fracking than from letting it go ahead. I'm not just a journalist. I'm trained as an environmental consultant. I've got 2 degrees in environmental management. I write for the ENDS Report, which is the oldest environmental business publication in the world. And I've spent a hell of a lot more time on. Hello. Oh, certainly. Yeah. Right. I've spent a lot more time on that side of the barrier than I have on this. I'm one of the good guys. Trust me.
you just come back and told us that fracking is a good thing.
No, I haven't. No. I just want to put some context on things. So I want to make sure that you guys.
What's gone on today?
Well, I'll be writing it up.
Where?
Edsreport.com.
Where will
Have you got
It's £100 to student subscription.
That's the only additive that they add into the process for the whole of the paddock, the whole process.
That is the whole premise, the only one. And it has to be publicly revealed. There's no secrets.
They found about 586 in the fracking in America.
Who did? Josh Fox did?
And the report
Which
that they
report?
released, which he then analyses in the film. Because at first they refused to release it.
Well, number one, that was in the United States. We have
So
a
you're
lot
saying
to
it's a
learn
different process
from
here?
here. In the UK, they used one chemical at 0.2 of 1% of the total mixture, and that chemical is polyacrylamide, which is already used in water treatment, already exists in the water you're drinking right now. It's all widely used in agriculture, in soil conditioning, and is present, like I say, it is 2.5% of disposable contact lenses.
So you'd be happy for someone to frack in your own backyard then?
Yes.
And you carry on drinking the water, even though in America the company over there actually advised people not to drink from their own water supplies. They actually said that publicly. They say that publicly.
They filmed
and they
it in
say,
court.
unfortunately, we need energy.
In which
and
case?
there's no viable good
In which
option.
case? This is like an urban myth. Look, you know, Josh Fox is not Einstein.
He's interviewed in the film, if you've seen it.
I have seen it. I had to sit through that, and I had to sit through Josh Fox playing his bloody banjo afterwards too.
Yeah, so when they actually go to New York State and they have a hearing, they ask the company to disclose the cocktail that they use to inject in, and amongst that there are about 500 components, which are used to, as inhibitors.
All I can tell you is what is happening today,
So the process is
and what is happening in Europe. Okay, today in the United States there is a website called frackfocus.org, and you can go there and you can see exactly how many chemicals and what they are in each well, and you can do that for thousands.
It's a dramatically different process than from the one being used in the States. I mean, it must be what you're describing. That sounds dramatically different.
I'm sorry?
One chemical instead of the 586 compounds that were disclosed.
They are not using 586 at once. Like I say, go to frackfocus.org, a United States.
But they are using that then.
Okay, and you can go to anywhere. You can go to Pennsylvania, to the DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection website, and you can see there that it is revealed how many chemicals, the exact concentrations are in each well. And there may, I don't know where the 586 came from, but you go to one and you see in each individual well there are rarely more than 10. But here in the UK again, polyacrylamide, widely used already in water, widely used in soil conditioning, used 10 times more strongly in disposable contact lenses, widely used and publicly revealed. The industry has absolutely nothing to hide.
So why do you think there are court injunctions in the States stopping people from talking about the health implications of drinking the water from the wells near their houses?
Where?
Well, again, I'm going to reference that film because there were several members of the public.
Well, there was a
on that
lot in
programme.
that film.
People
I
who
mean,
were suffering.
they had the guy saying that he had lit his water on fire.
Yeah, there were several. I think you'll find there was about 5, which made it onto the news, onto several news channels in the States.
Well, even if we are saying perhaps
you seriously
5 or
massive
10,
denial?
it is out of,
And that's out of the ones that were prepared to talk
10.
about it, who hadn't been paid off not
come
to,
on.
who hadn't. Why have they had? Their
this is
water supplies
America.
replaced?
If people have got a problem, they can get a lawyer.
Why have they had their
You
water
know,
supply replaced?
and they can get a lawyer, and it hasn't been proven.
So why have they had their water supplies replaced by the corporations?
Now, the only one I really know about is the case of Dimmock, Pennsylvania. It's a famous case, and it seems to be about the only case. It is.
Blaming not true.
I'm sorry. I really, if you go to my website, I've got a whole bunch of stuff for and against scientific things from all over the world, and we're constantly asking, please, 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 instead of telling us about all this urban myth of huge amounts of people getting poisoned, please actually give us some examples.
But there's, as I recall, at least 10 families on that film.
Well, that
as
was
living, breathing examples. Many of whom have had their own water supplies replaced by wells given them to by corporations who have told them not to drink the water
Let's
supply.
talk about Dimmock, Pennsylvania, which is complicated, and I'm going to have to explain that in at least 5 minutes. I won't have
Who's paying
enough
your
time.
salary? Who's bankrolling you?
Let's just let them respond.
Oh, okay, well, who's paying yours? You know, everybody's got to eat. But anyway, I make absolutely no bones
You
about
haven't
it.
answered the question. So who's
Okay, I
paying
make
your
absolutely
salary?
no bones about it, is that I have several clients in
All
Europe.
in the oil industry.
In the natural gas and oil industry.
It's not natural, it's
Can I
unnatural.
ask under the fuel policy?
It is natural.
Nick, can I ask under the fuel policy? And also, why did France why did France take the opinion of banning fracking?
Well, I think in France actually is that it was swept up in politics and emotion.
But surely, if your science is so tight, why would the French, who have 80% of their energy derived from nuclear, turn away this process of gas extraction?
I ask my friends in France this too. I say, how come here, the country that is built in rationality, the country of Descartes, go for this pseudoscience of gasland?
But surely there must be some really learned people, and they would have done their research. I mean, it's interesting about the...
Well, a lot of it is politics. In politics, it's interesting. Everybody from like the Front National to the Lutte ouvrière, across the whole spectrum, voted against that. And the reasons for that are very, very complicated, and have much to do with French politics more than actual science.
Can we talk about the carbon emissions and the issues there? Can you sort of give us a bit of background and maybe some facts about the sort of carbon emissions from an average pad drill?
Okay, well, there has been one famous study by Dr. Howarth from Cornell, who has said that the carbon emissions from shale are as bad as coal. There are at least 6 or 7 others that basically said he doesn't know what he's talking about. Carnegie Mellon University, Deutsche Bank, the National Energy Technology Laboratory. Deutsche Bank, and the report from the Natural Resources Defense Council, a joint report. Okay, and also the National Energy Technology Laboratory of the federal government of the United States.
But who are they funded by?
The
it's all funding
the
less,
U.S.
so-
but by the U.S. taxpayer actually. You know, a key issue where I agree with people on is, you know, I think that natural gas can be a great bridge fuel to a low carbon world, and I can understand that some people are worried that it could be a destination fuel. But I think that, you know, there isn't that much money around. And I think that to spend €1 trillion, as the WWF say, to take away from all you younger people's future, to reduce carbon emissions using the technology of today is a bit crazy, because I think that we have a short-term solution over the next 20 years to reduce carbon by 50% by using natural gas instead of coal. Coal is the real enemy. That is what you should get.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you quite genuinely say, with a clear conscience, and bearing in mind your kids' futures, your grandkids' futures, that there's nothing about the drilling process as it's already been done in the States which concerns you, and the way it could affect water supplies and also people's health?
I don't think that there's anything that I'm worried about, no.
There's literally nothing you're worried about in this process. Even
kind of
as
things. I mean, you know, I used to work for the NHS, and there was a great study that I saw once where they were talking about like 50 people a year admitted to hospital emergency rooms and subsequently die from falling out of bed. So I mean, absolutely nothing is risk-free.
Yeah, but I mean, if you do have to sort of compare the risks. I mean, you didn't answer my question earlier in terms
there
of the water
always
supply to these houses.
I could get struck by a meteorite.
Yeah, I know, but
it's been known to happen.
That's a no-brainer. I mean, that's a pointless way of responding to my question. Just quickly, going back to this issue of water supplies, when you consider the fact that the canal networks in the UK all link up, and we are a relatively small country compared to the States, and you look at how quickly water reserves over there in the area
there's absolutely no risk.
How can you say there's no risk when there are families there that have had their water supplies replaced by wells?
And there have been no proven cases of contamination in the United States.
So why have the corporations replaced their water supply with wells, with alternative wells?
What corporation? Again, it's in Dimmock. There was one particular case. In Dimmock, something nasty did happen.
But there was at least 4 families on gas
there were actually 16 people.
16 people.
Okay.
Right.
There are also 380 other families in Dimmock who weren't impacted. It was an unfortunate accident for 10, 16 people.
But how do we quite a hazardous percentage?
Well, what happened in Dimmock was that there was a settlement between Cabot Petroleum, the guys that did the well, and the state of Pennsylvania, and the families. And it's important this because the families were compensated. They were given twice the value of their homes, but also the state of Pennsylvania said that gas drilling could continue.
Was that 16 out of 360?
Well, you look at
that's
Wikipedia.
5%. I mean, that's actually quite a lot.
You look at Dimmock, Pennsylvania. I'm not sure what. I think 16 is less than 5%.
Well, I mean, it's roughly 5%.
But anyway,
that's a huge amount. I mean, that's going to make an impact.
That was one accident.
It's not like water; it's contained. Rivers flow, rivulets meet up.
That happened. They found out the cause, and now they fix it so that it won't happen again.
But it's not. How can water be contained? Water flows from space to space.
No.
Well, it does.
No, you misunderstand what happened in Dimmock. Okay, and it is very complicated. And go and look at it. But I mean, it wasn't this catastrophe that people are saying.
Well, I would consider not having your own flowing, natural, running water that you can drink in your house a bit of a catastrophe. Actually, it's a basic human right.
I think catastrophe is a bit strong.
Not having, I would say it's vital. It's the one thing we look for on planets that we're seeing if they're habitable.
It would be a catastrophe if it happened to everyone, but it was.
But it's all right if it's 5%. I mean,
no, it was an unfortunate accident that happened to 10 families in one town in Pennsylvania.
10 families.
The thing is, fracking hasn't even become mainstream yet, and it's already happened to 10 families. It's not even the main.
16.
There are over 100,000 wells have been drilled using fracking technology in the United States.
But I mean, in the relative scheme of things, fracking is still at quite a young age process. Like, it's not like oil or coal which we've been using for ages. I mean, if there's already these sort of issues that are coming up, should we not maybe be asking questions and actually reconsidering?
No, absolutely no problems with asking questions, not at all. But to say, well, we had one bad accident, let's stop. It's kind of like, stopping flying after the first plane crash.
I just don't think you'd feel that if it was in your household or your kids or your family being affected. And
I agree with you.
That doesn't happen to you. When and if it does, I don't know how you're going to sleep at night.
Well, I will probably be sleeping somewhere with a very large
wad of money next to you.
From suing whoever caused it.
So it's profit over people, essentially, is your point. That's what you're saying there.
This is really the best news that can happen to the planet and to the economy.
How can you say that though when you've just told us about a health report that shows it emits as much emissions as coal? We should be looking for renewable energy.
It does not do that. That is what one professor said, and I don't believe that, and many another professor says that is not true.
And actually, I do think that it's a bit hypocritical that we've spent so long fighting for renewable energy, and we've had energy companies telling us that they're searching for it and that this is the new way in which to get energy, and suddenly they've just come across, it's like taking a step backwards, suddenly they come across this, which, it's not renewable.
I can understand that if people like,
I think to anyone, I think it's a bit insulting to intelligence actually to assume
that the world is made up of conspiracies, is to say, yeah, sure, there we were all running out of gas, and all of a sudden we're not. We're not because there's been technological breakthroughs.
But the thing,
they always knew this gas was there, but they didn't
whether we're running out or not, it's still having a horrendous effect on the environment.
It's not a horrendous effect.
I'm sorry, burning fossil fuels is not environmentally friendly in any way.
Go to a coal plant. Those are people that are poisoning you. Coal kills 35,000 people a year in the United States, according to the EPA, as in early death, caused by the health impacts of coal pollution.
And I'm sure they said the same thing when they started mining coal, that, there's been a few accidents, a few people died down some mines, but let's go ahead anyway.
Thousands of people have been dying. The poor working class miners have been dying. There's 5 just in the United Kingdom just this year. But everything is risk.
But do we really want to use that as an example? Do we really want to say, well, at least we're not as bad as that? It's okay if only 5% of people are killed by it, because at least it's not.
I said this is 5% in one town, out of one state, out of 300 million people in the United States.
What I mean is that statistics don't come into it, because statistics are representative, I agree with you, but they have it's not the same as looking at it in real terms.
Everything's a risk.
Everything's a risk, but that seems like a really damaging way of approaching
16 people a year are struck dead by lightning
we
in the
should be
United States. Go to struckbylightning.org.
So what's a few more if we're just killing off as well? How is that a constructive way of looking at this problem? We should be investing in renewable energy for the least damaging options to our environment, because our population is now 7 billion people. This gas isn't going to last forever, even if it's a short term.
It actually, the International Energy Administration says there's at least 250 years worth of reserves. So
what about after that?
What about after that? Those are your great grandkids that are going to have to deal with it.
No, there is not going to be anybody with more than about 1/3000th of my DNA walking this planet that is going to have to worry about that. And something, I think that they'll probably figure out a solution.
Because we're going to find another planet by then, which hopefully has water on it.
No, human beings are remarkably adaptable.
That's what we're doing.